History is on the brink of a seismic shift. Cardinal Tagle isn't just another candidate, he embodies everything Pope Francis stood for: humility, compassion, and a bold vision for a modern, open church. As the world's eyes turn to the Vatican, Tagle's rise could guarantee the unstoppable momentum of Francis's reforms and ignite hope for 1.4 billion Catholics across the globe. This is the moment that could redefine the future of faith forever. Subscribe now and tell us, should Tagle carry on Francis's legacy? Join the debate below. Part 1. The Spirit of Francis, a new vision for the Church. From the very first moment Pope Francis appeared on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica in 2013, the world sensed a profound shift in the Catholic Church. He greeted the people simply bowing his head and asking for their blessing before offering his own. This small gesture spoke volumes. It was a sign of humility of a leader who saw himself not as a ruler above others, but as a fellow pilgrim on the journey of faith. With that, Pope Francis ushered in a new era, one marked by simplicity, mercy, and a relentless focus on the Gospel's call to serve the poor and marginalized. Pope Francis's vision for the Church is deeply pastoral. He has described the Church as a field hospital after battle, a place where wounds are treated and healing is offered without judgment. He has called for a church that goes forth reaching out to those on the peripheries of society and faith. His words and actions have invited Catholics everywhere to rediscover the heart of the gospel, love, mercy, and solidarity with the least among us. This vision has not been without its challenges. Francis has faced resistance from those who prefer a more rigid, rule-based approach to faith. He has been criticized for his openness to dialogue, his willingness to listen to voices often ignored, and his insistence that the Church must be a place of welcome for all. Yet through it all, Francis has remained steadfast. He has reminded the world that the Church's mission is not to condemn, but to accompany, not to close doors, but to open hearts. In this context, the question of succession becomes deeply important. Who can carry forward this vision? Who can ensure that the Church continues to walk the path Francis has set, a path of humility, compassion, and courageous engagement with the world's pain and hope? Among the many names considered, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle stands out as the most natural and faithful heir to the spirit of Francis. Tagle, often called the Asian Francis, is not just a reflection of Pope Francis's style. He is a living embodiment of the same pastoral heart. His life and ministry have been marked by the very qualities that have defined Francis's papacy. Like Francis, Tagle is known for his humility. He is approachable, gentle, and deeply attentive to the needs of others. He listens more than he speaks. And when he does speak, his words are filled with warmth and understanding. Tagle's vision for the Church is rooted in the same gospel values that animate Francis. He believes in a church that is close to the people, especially those who suffer. He has consistently advocated for the poor, the marginalized, and the forgotten. In his native Philippines, he has been a tireless defender of human dignity, standing with those who have no voice, and challenging systems of injustice. His leadership is not about power or prestige, but about service and solidarity. What makes Tagle particularly suited to succeed Francis is his ability to communicate the faith in a way that is both profound and accessible. He has a gift for telling stories, for using simple language to convey deep truths. His homilies and talks are filled with humor, empathy, and a sense of shared humanity. People see in him not just a leader, but a friend, a shepherd who walks with his flock. Tagle's global perspective is another key reason he is the perfect successor to Francis. As a cardinal from the Philippines, he represents the growing vitality of the Church in Asia and the global South. He understands the challenges and hopes of Catholics in developing countries where faith is often lived in the midst of poverty and struggle. His experience as head of the Vatican's dicastery for evangelization has given him a unique insight into the needs of the universal church. He is comfortable moving between cultures, languages, and contexts, always seeking to build bridges rather than walls. In a world that is increasingly divided by politics, by economics, by religion, Tagle's commitment to dialogue and reconciliation is invaluable. He has participated in countless interfaith initiatives, reaching out to people of other religions with respect and openness. He believes that the Church must be a force for peace, a place where differences are not erased, but embraced in a spirit of mutual understanding. Perhaps most importantly, Tagle shares Francis's conviction that the Church must be a place of mercy. He has spoken powerfully about the need for compassion, especially toward those who feel excluded or judged by the Church. He understands that the gospel is not a set of rules but a message of hope and healing. Like Francis, he calls the Church to be less concerned with defending its own interests and more focused on serving the world's wounded. The spirit of Francis is not about any one person. It is about a way of being. Church, it is about humility, mercy, and a willingness to go out to the margins. It is about listening, accompanying, and loving without condition. In Cardinal Tagle, the Church finds a leader who not only understands this vision, but lives it every day. He is the natural heir to Francis, ready to lead the Church into a future of hope, healing, and renewed faithfulness to the gospel. As the Church stands at a crossroads, the choice of its next leader will shape its witness for generations to come. In Tagle, there is a shepherd who embodies the very best of what Pope Francis has brought to the world. A leader whose heart beats in rhythm with the gospel, whose hands are open to all, and whose eyes see the face of Christ in every person. The spirit of Francis is alive in Tagle, and through him, the Church can continue its journey toward a more merciful, humble, and loving future. Part 2. Tagle's humility, a foundation for authentic leadership. Humility is the cornerstone of true Christian leadership, and it is the virtue that has most clearly defined both Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle. In a world often obsessed with status, power, and recognition, humility stands in stark contrast as a sign of authenticity and spiritual depth. For Pope Francis, humility is not just a personal trait, but a way of life. A radical commitment to serve others, to listen before speaking, and to place the needs of the most vulnerable at the center of the Church's mission. This same humility shines through in every aspect of Cardinal Tagle's ministry. From his earliest days as a priest, Tagle has been known for his gentle presence and approachable spirit. He is not a man who seeks the spotlight or demands deference. Instead, he is often found among ordinary people, listening to their stories, sharing their joys and sorrows, and offering encouragement. His humility is not performative or strategic. It is deeply rooted in his understanding of Jesus, who came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Tagle's leadership is shaped by this gospel model. A leadership that is about washing feet, not sitting on thrones. Tagle's humility is evident in the way he interacts with everyone, regardless of their status or background. He greets the powerful and the poor with the same warmth and respect. He is quick to acknowledge his own limitations and to seek the wisdom of others. In meetings, he prefers to listen deeply, allowing others to speak before offering his own thoughts. This humility has earned him the trust and affection of those he serves, and it has made him a bridge builder in a church that is often divided by ideology or tradition. One of the most striking examples of Tagle's humility is his willingness to admit mistakes and ask for forgiveness. In a culture where leaders are often expected to project infallibility, Tagle's honesty is refreshing and disarming. He has spoken openly about his struggles, his doubts, and his need for God's grace. This vulnerability does not make him weak. It makes him relatable and trustworthy. People see in him a leader who is not above them, but with them, sharing in their humanity and their journey of faith. Tagle's humility is also reflected in his lifestyle. He has chosen to live simply, avoiding the trappings of wealth or privilege that sometimes accompany high office in the church. He is known for traveling without entourage, for eating with staff and volunteers, and for spending time with those who are often overlooked. His simplicity is not just a personal preference, it is a witness to the gospel's call to poverty of spirit and solidarity with the poor. This humility extends to Tagle's approach to authority. He does not see himself as the center of attention or the source of all wisdom. Instead, he understands leadership as a shared responsibility, a collaboration with others in the service of God's people. He is quick to affirm the gifts and contributions of others, and he encourages participation at every level of church life. This collaborative spirit is especially important in a global church that is rich in diversity and experience. Tagle's humility is not passive or timid, it is a dynamic force that enables him to engage with the world's challenges without arrogance or fear. He is willing to enter into difficult conversations, to listen to those who disagree, and to seek common ground where possible. His humility gives him the freedom to be open to new ideas and to learn from others, even those outside the church. This openness is a sign of strength, not weakness. A strength rooted in the confidence that comes from knowing one's identity as a beloved child of God. The humility that defines Tagle's leadership is also deeply pastoral. He approaches every person as a unique and unrepeatable image of God. He is attentive to the suffering of others, and he is moved to action by compassion rather than duty. His pastoral visits are marked by genuine encounters, moments of listening prayer and presence that communicate God's love in tangible ways. People who meet Tagle often remark on his ability to make them feel seen and valued, no matter their circumstances. Tagle's humility is also evident in his response to criticism and adversity. He does not respond with defensiveness or anger, but with patience and understanding. He is willing to engage with those who disagree, seeking to understand their concerns and to find paths toward reconciliation. This ability to remain calm and compassionate in the face of conflict is a rare and precious gift in today's polarized world. In the broader context of the Church, Tagle's humility is a model for all who seek to serve. It challenges the temptation to clericalism, the tendency to see leadership as a form of privilege rather than service. It calls the Church to return to its roots, to the example of Jesus, who knelt to wash the feet of his disciples. Tagle's example reminds us that true greatness is found not in being served, but in serving others with love and humility. As the Church looks to the future, the need for humble leadership has never been greater. The challenges facing the Church, scandals, divisions, declining trust, cannot be met with arrogance or authoritarianism. They require leaders who are willing to listen, to learn, and to walk with the people they serve. In Cardinal Tagle, the Church finds such a leader, a man whose humility is not just a personal virtue, but a foundation for authentic, transformative leadership. Tagle's humility is a gift to the Church and to the world. It is a sign of hope in a time of uncertainty, a reminder that the way of Jesus is the way of self-emptying love. As the Church continues its journey, Tagle's example lights the path forward, a path marked by humility, service, and a deep trust in God's providence. Through his humble leadership, Tagle invites all of us to rediscover the joy and freedom that come from following Christ with an open heart and a willing spirit. Part 3. Mercy at the Heart. Tagle's pastoral approach. Mercy is the radiant core of the gospel and the unmistakable hallmark of Pope Francis's vision for the Church. Cardinal Tagle not only embraces this vision, but lives it out in every aspect of his ministry, making mercy the foundation of his pastoral approach. In a world often marked by harshness, judgment, and division, Tagle's message is clear and consistent. The Church must be a home of compassion, patience, and healing. For all, Tagle's understanding of mercy is deeply rooted in the example of Jesus. He frequently points to gospel stories where Jesus chooses to journey with those on the margins, not the purest or most upright, but those considered sinners or outsiders by society. In his homilies and public addresses, Tagle emphasizes that Jesus' way is a journey of mercy and compassion, not of condemnation, of patience, not of destruction. He urges church leaders and faithful alike to intentionally choose this path, to make mercy not an afterthought, but the very starting point of all ministry and community life. This commitment to mercy is not just theoretical for Tagle. It is lived out in his actions and decisions. He has consistently opposed the use of harsh or severe language when discussing sensitive issues, especially those involving people who feel alienated from the Church. Tagle believes the Church must learn over its teaching of mercy, recognizing that past approaches sometimes inflicted wounds rather than healing them. He acknowledges that the Church in its history has sometimes failed to be merciful, especially toward groups like the LGBTQ community or those in irregular family situations, and he calls for individualized pastoral care that takes into account each person's unique journey. Tagle's compassion is evident in the way he responds to suffering both in individual lives and in broader social crises. During natural disasters such as Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, Tagle mobilized the local church to provide shelter, food, and comfort personally, visiting devastated communities and listening to the stories of those affected. His empathy is not limited to words. It is a call to concrete action, a contagion of charity that challenges all Catholics to look beyond themselves and see the needs of others. He also brings this merciful approach to the global stage as prefect of the Vatican's Dicastery for Evangelization. Tagle has encouraged missionaries and church leaders worldwide to make mercy the heart of their work. He teaches that a true encounter with Jesus always leads to mission, and that mission is at its core a sharing of the compassion and hope that come from God. For Tagle, faith is not something to be hoarded or defended with rigidity, but a gift to be shared generously, especially with those who are hurting or searching for meaning. Tagle's vision of mercy is also forward-looking and open to growth. He recognizes that as society and psychology evolve, so too must the Church's understanding of how to best express mercy in new situations. He encourages church leaders to listen deeply to learn from new insights and to adapt pastoral care in ways that truly heal and reconcile. This humility and willingness to grow are essential for a church that seeks to embody Christ's mercy in every age. In his own words and actions, Tagle often returns to the image of the merciful hands of Jesus' hands that healed, forgave, and lifted up the fallen. He invites all Catholics to open their hands and hearts to receive the mission of mercy from Christ and to extend it to others. Tagle's approach is never about watering down the faith or ignoring moral truth. Rather, it is about presenting the Church's teachings calmly without judgment, and always seeking to help those who struggle or feel left out. Tagle's leadership is a living witness to the power of mercy to transform lives and communities. He calls the Church to move beyond condemnation and exclusion to become a true field hospital that treats wounds and restores hope. In a world longing for compassion, Tagle's pastoral approach offers a path forward, a church that journeys with all people, especially those who differ from us, and that chooses mercy as its guiding light. Through his words, actions, and unwavering commitment to the gospel, Cardinal Tagle embodies the heart of Francis's vision, a church where mercy is not just a theme, but the very air we breathe, the foundation of every relationship and the hope offered to every soul. Part 4. A Global Perspective. Tagle's Unique Voice. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle stands out in the Catholic Church, not only for his pastoral heart and humility, but also for his deeply global perspective, a quality that is increasingly vital in a faith community that spans every continent and culture. Tagle's life and ministry are shaped by the realities of the Global South, by the struggles and hopes of the poor, and by a profound awareness of the interconnectedness of humanity. This global outlook is not theoretical. It is rooted in lived experience and a lifetime of service. Born and raised in the Philippines, the only predominantly Christian nation in Asia, Tagle has always been attuned to the unique challenges and opportunities facing the Church outside the traditional centers of power. His years as Archbishop of Manila, one of the most densely populated and diverse cities in the world, gave him first-hand experience in addressing poverty, migration, rapid urbanization, and the complexities of living faith in a pluralistic society. In Manila, Tagle was not a distant administrator, but a shepherd present among his people, listening to their needs and advocating for justice and dignity. Tagle's leadership has consistently reflected a commitment to social justice and solidarity with the marginalized. As president of Caritas Internationalis, he led a confederation of more than 160 Catholic relief organizations working to end poverty, promote justice, and restore dignity to the most vulnerable, regardless of race or religion. His approach is never limited by borders. He sees the suffering of one community as a call to action for the entire Church. Whether responding to natural disasters in the Philippines, advocating for refugees at the United Nations, or supporting humanitarian efforts in Africa and Latin America, Tagle embodies a Catholicism that is truly universal. This global vision extends to Tagle's advocacy for migrants and refugees. Drawing from his own family history, his grandfather was a migrant from China. Tagle has spoken passionately about the need to welcome and support those who are displaced by war, poverty, or persecution. He reminds the Church and the world that migration is about human persons, urging societies to move beyond fear and prejudice by encountering the stories and dreams of migrants face to face. At international forums, he has criticized policies that build walls and fuel division, insisting that global challenges like migration, climate change, and poverty demand global solidarity and cooperation. Tagle's capacity to connect with people of all backgrounds is also seen in his commitment to interfaith dialogue. He has encouraged Catholics in Asia and beyond to engage with people of other religions, not as adversaries, but as fellow seekers of truth and peace. At international gatherings, including the Anglican Lambeth Conference, he has called for cultural intelligence that transcends prejudice and fosters genuine understanding. For Tagle, the Church's mission is not to dominate, but to serve and to learn from others in humility. Another dimension of Tagle's global perspective is his ability to reach and inspire young people. In an era when many young Catholics feel disconnected from the institutional Church, Tagle speaks their language both literally and figuratively. He is active on social media, uses everyday language in his messages, and encourages youth to become influencers for Jesus, spreading truth, justice, and care for the earth online and offline. His presence at World Youth Day and similar events has energized a new generation, making them feel seen, heard, and valued. Tagle's voice is also prophetic on issues of climate change and environmental justice. He has championed Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si', urging Catholics worldwide to care for creation and to recognize the link between environmental degradation and the suffering of the poor. He calls for active love, a sacrificial sharing with others that goes beyond charity to address the root causes of injustice and environmental harm. Despite facing criticism for not always being vocal enough on certain issues, Tagle's approach is marked by a willingness to listen, to learn, and to seek common ground. He is not afraid to address controversial topics, but does so with a spirit of compassion and understanding, always prioritizing the dignity of each person. His leadership style is collaborative, inclusive, and deeply aware of the diversity within the Church and the world. In sum, Cardinal Tagle's global perspective is not just a reflection of his background, but a conscious choice to embody the universal mission of the Church. He sees the face of Christ in every person, regardless of nationality, religion, or circumstance, and calls the Church to do the same. In a world marked by division and inequality, Tagle's voice is a reminder that the Catholic Church is at its best when it stands in solidarity with the poor, welcomes the stranger, and builds bridges across every boundary. This is the kind of leadership that can guide the Church into a future of hope, unity, and authentic witness to the Gospel. Part 5. Intellectual Depth and Theological Vision. Tagle as the Scholar-Pastor. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's intellectual and theological depth is a defining feature that sets him apart as the ideal successor to Pope Francis. In an era when the Catholic Church faces not only spiritual but also complex moral, social, and doctrinal challenges, Tagle's formation as a scholar and his lifelong commitment to theological inquiry equip him to guide the Church with wisdom, nuance, and fidelity to tradition. Tagle's academic journey began in the Philippines and led him to the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., where he earned his doctorate in sacred theology. His dissertation focused on episcopal collegiality, a theme at the heart of Vatican II and a central concern for the modern Church. This early focus on the collaborative nature of Church leadership foreshadowed Tagle's later advocacy for synodality dialogue and shared responsibility within the Church. His theological formation was shaped under the guidance of renowned theologians like Joseph Komonchak, who described Tagle as one of the best students I had in over 40 years of teaching. Tagle's scholarly work is not confined to academic circles. He has contributed significantly to the History of Vatican II project, a seminal work that explores the Council's impact on the Church's relationship with the modern world. His involvement in this project demonstrates not only his historical expertise, but also his commitment to interpreting tradition as a living reality, one that must be continually rediscovered and applied to new situations. As Tagle himself has said, "The tradition is very rich. No single person, no single country, no single local church, or even the greatest saint could have captured the totality of that tradition. So if it is a living tradition, there is also a living mode of rediscovering it, and the changing times could really push us." Beyond his academic credentials, Tagle has served as a professor of theology, a member of the International Theological Commission, and a leader in numerous Vatican bodies focused on doctrine, evangelization, and education. He has taught at major seminaries and universities, shaping generations of priests and lay leaders. His ability to communicate complex theological ideas in a way that is accessible and relevant has made him a beloved teacher and preacher both in his native Philippines and around the world. Tagle's intellectual approach is marked by a balance between fidelity to church teaching and openness to pastoral realities. He is deeply rooted in Catholic doctrine, yet he recognizes that the application of these teachings requires discernment, compassion, and an understanding of individual circumstances. For Tagle, the role of the Church is not to impose rigid formulas, but to accompany people on their journey, helping them to encounter the beauty of the gospel and the richness of tradition in ways that speak to their lives today. This pastoral sensitivity is evident in Tagle's approach to some of the most contentious issues facing the Church. He has called for a new language and attitude toward groups who have often felt marginalized, such as LGBTQ+ individuals, divorced and remarried, Catholics, and unwed mothers. Tagle acknowledges that the harsh words that were used in the past to refer to gays and divorced and separated people, the unwed mothers, etc., in the past, they were quite severe. Many people who belonged to those groups were branded, and that led to their isolation from the wider society. But we are glad to see and hear shifts in that. He emphasizes the need for individualized pastoral care, recognizing that every situation for those who are divorced and remarried is quite unique. To have a general rule might be counterproductive. In the end, we cannot give one formula for all. Tagle's theological vision is also shaped by his experience in the Global South, where the Church often faces poverty, conflict, and rapid social change. He brings a perspective that is both universal and particular, attentive to the needs of local communities while remaining connected to the broader Church. His advocacy for social justice, care for migrants, and commitment to interfaith dialogue are rooted in a theology that sees Christ present in every human struggle and every culture. Despite his academic achievements, Tagle remains remarkably humble and approachable. He prefers simple living arrangements, takes public transportation, and engages informally with parishioners after Mass. His style contrasts with the often hierarchical image of the Vatican, offering a model of leadership that is both intellectually rigorous and deeply human. In summary, Cardinal Tagle's intellectual depth and theological vision make him uniquely qualified to lead the Catholic Church in the 21st century. He is a scholar-pastor who embodies the spirit of Vatican II, a teacher who bridges doctrine and pastoral care, and a leader who can guide the Church through the complexities of our time with wisdom, humility, and hope. Tagle's capacity to engage with both tradition and innovation, to listen and to teach, ensures that the Church will remain rooted in the Gospel while responding creatively to the needs of a changing world. Part 6. A champion for the poor and marginalized, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's life and ministry are a testament to his unwavering commitment to the poor and marginalized qualities that make him a natural successor to Pope Francis. Like Francis, Tagle's leadership is defined by a deep personal solidarity with those on the peripheries of society. He is not only an advocate in words, but a shepherd in action, embodying the Gospel's call to serve the least of these. Tagle's connection to the poor is rooted in his own background and pastoral experience in the Philippines, a country marked by stark economic inequalities and widespread poverty. He has consistently chosen to live simply and remain close to ordinary people, earning the affection and trust of those he serves. In Manila's slums, hope rises for Tagle as the next pope precisely because of his closeness to the poor and his visible commitment to their dignity and well-being. As one resident shared, "He's close to poor people like me, just like how Pope Francis was." His practical approach to alleviating poverty is evident in initiatives like the Pondo ng Pinoy Funds for the Filipinos program, which encourages families to set aside even the smallest amounts, just 25 cents a day, to collectively support the most vulnerable children, women, and elderly. Tagle's vision is expansive. He dreams of extending such grassroots charity beyond the Philippines, harnessing the global Filipino diaspora and the wider Church to create a worldwide network of solidarity. As president of Caritas Internationalis, he has led one of the world's largest Catholic charitable organizations, mobilizing resources and compassion across 165 countries to respond to disasters, hunger, and injustice. Tagle's advocacy extends beyond material poverty. He is a vocal supporter of migrants, refugees, and all those forced to the margins by circumstance or prejudice. His own family history includes migration. His maternal grandfather was born in China, which gives him a personal understanding of the challenges and hopes of migrants. He often draws parallels between the migrant experience and the journey of Christ, emphasizing the dignity and resilience of those seeking a better life. Tagle has spoken at international forums, urging the Church and society to move beyond fear and embrace the stranger as a brother or sister. Crucially, Tagle's compassion also reaches those who have felt excluded by the Church itself. LGBTQ+, people divorced or remarried, Catholics and single mothers. While upholding Church teaching, Tagle has consistently called for a more merciful and understanding approach, acknowledging that the harsh words that were used in the past were quite severe. Many people who belonged to those groups were branded, and that led to their isolation from the wider society. He has championed initiatives for LGBTQ+ acceptance in churches, encouraged youth not to discriminate, and urged all Catholics to use their gifts for the greater glory of God, not against other people or society. Tagle's leadership style, approachable, joyful, and deeply pastoral, makes him accessible to those who often feel overlooked by authority. He is known for his ability to listen, to share in people's struggles, and to offer hope in the face of adversity. His progressive stances, emphasis on social justice and affinity for people, are seen as a direct continuation of Pope Francis's vision for a church that is open, inclusive, and responsive to the needs of the world. In summary, Cardinal Tagle's life is a living witness to the Church's mission to serve and uplift the poor and marginalized. His hands-on approach to charity, his advocacy for migrants and refugees, and his compassionate stance toward those on the peripheries of the Church make him a champion for all who long for a more just and merciful world. Tagle's leadership would not only continue but deepen the Church's commitment to go forth to the margins, making the gospel truly good news for the poor. Part 7. Building Bridges, Ecumenism and Interfaith Dialogue. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's ministry is marked by a profound commitment to building bridges between people's faiths and even within the Church itself. In a world increasingly fractured by conflict, suspicion, and polarization, Tagle's approach to ecumenism and interfaith dialogue is not just an optional extra, but an essential part of his vision for the Church. This bridge-building spirit is deeply rooted in both the gospel and the vision of Pope Francis, who has repeatedly called the Church to be an instrument of unity and a builder of peace. Tagle's journey as a bridge builder began in the multicultural, multi-faith context of the Philippines, where Catholics live alongside Muslims, Protestants, Buddhists, and indigenous faith communities. From his earliest days as a priest and bishop, Tagle has shown a willingness to engage with people of other faiths, not as adversaries, but as fellow pilgrims searching for meaning, truth, and peace. He has participated in countless interreligious gatherings, always emphasizing respect, listening, and the shared values that unite humanity. This openness is not merely diplomatic. It is grounded in Tagle's conviction that every human being is created in God's image and is worthy of dignity and love. He often recalls the words of Vatican II, which called the Church to recognize, preserve, and promote the good things spiritual and moral, as well as the socio-cultural values found among other religions. For Tagle, dialogue is not about watering down the faith, but about discovering the presence of God at work in every culture and tradition. Tagle's bridge building is also evident in his approach to ecumenism, the effort to heal divisions among Christians. He has worked closely with leaders of other Christian denominations, both in the Philippines and internationally, to promote unity and common witness. Tagle understands that the wounds of division are a scandal to the gospel and a barrier to the Church's mission. He encourages Catholics to approach other Christians with humility, recognizing that we have much to learn from each other and that unity is ultimately a gift of the Holy Spirit. As president of Caritas Internationalis, Tagle has brought together people of different faiths and backgrounds in the service of the poor and suffering. He believes that shared action, feeding the hungry, sheltering the homeless, caring for refugees, can be a powerful form of dialogue, breaking down barriers and building trust. In humanitarian crises, Tagle has shown that compassion knows no boundaries, and that the Church's credibility depends on its willingness to work alongside all people of goodwill. Tagle's bridge building extends to the internal life of the Church as well. He is known for his ability to listen to diverse perspectives, to mediate conflicts, and to foster a spirit of collaboration. In an era when the Church faces tensions between tradition and change, Tagle's inclusive leadership style is a model of synodality, a way of journeying together that values every voice and seeks consensus through prayerful discernment. His approach is gentle but firm. He does not shy away from difficult conversations, but he always seeks to understand before being understood. Tagle's humility allows him to admit when he does not have all the answers, and his faith gives him the courage to trust in the guidance of the Holy Spirit. He is convinced that dialogue, whether with other Christians, other religions, or within the Church itself, is not a sign of weakness, but of strength and maturity. Tagle's commitment to dialogue is especially important in today's climate, where religion is sometimes used to justify violence, exclusion, or division. He challenges Catholics to reject all forms of fundamentalism and to embrace the Gospel's call to peacemaking. He reminds the Church that Jesus himself crossed boundaries, speaking with Samaritans, healing Gentiles, and welcoming sinners. For Tagle, to follow Christ is to be a bridge, not a wall. In summary, Cardinal Tagle's bridge-building ministry is a living witness to the Church's vocation to unity and peace. His work in ecumenism and interfaith dialogue, his collaborative leadership within the Church, and his compassionate outreach to all people embody the vision of Pope Francis for a Church that is open, inclusive, and engaged with the world. In Tagle, the Church finds a shepherd who not only talks about unity, but lives it, inviting all people to walk together toward a future of hope, reconciliation, and shared mission. Part 8. A Shepherd for the Young and the Future. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's ability to connect with young people is one of his most remarkable gifts, a quality that makes him uniquely suited to lead the Catholic Church into the future. In a world where many young people feel disconnected from religious institutions, Tagle's warmth, authenticity, and pastoral approach have inspired a new generation to rediscover faith and community. His ministry is a living answer to Pope Francis's call for a church that listens to, learns from, and walks with the youth. From his earliest days as a priest, Tagle has shown a natural rapport with young people. He is approachable and relatable, often using humor and personal stories to break down barriers. In his homilies and talks, he speaks in a language that is clear and engaging, weaving together the wisdom of the gospel with the everyday experiences of young people. Tagle understands the pressures, anxieties, and dreams that shape the lives of today's youth, and he meets them where they are, with empathy, encouragement, and hope. Tagle's presence at international gatherings like World Youth Day has been electrifying. He does not stand apart as a distant authority figure, but mingles with the crowds, listens to their stories, and prays with them as a fellow pilgrim. Young Catholics see in him a leader who genuinely cares about their struggles and aspirations, someone who values their contributions and believes in their potential to change the world. He encourages youth to take ownership of their faith, to ask questions and to seek answers, not to be passive recipients but active participants in the life of the Church. One of Tagle's key messages to young people is the importance of service. He challenges them to move beyond self-interest and comfort, to reach out to those in need, and to become missionary disciples in their own communities. Through initiatives like youth-led charity programs and social media campaigns, Tagle has empowered countless young Catholics to put their faith into action. He reminds them that even small acts of kindness can have a profound impact, and that each person has a unique role to play in building a more just and compassionate world. Tagle is also attentive to the questions and doubts that many young people have about faith morality and the relevance of the Church. He does not dismiss their concerns, but listens patiently, offering guidance rooted in both tradition and understanding. He acknowledges the challenges posed by modern culture, such as secularism, materialism, and digital distractions. But he sees these not as threats, but as opportunities for deeper engagement and dialogue. Tagle's approach is never judgmental. Instead, he invites young people to journey with him to explore the richness of the Christian tradition and to discover a God who loves them unconditionally. In his ministry, Tagle has also addressed the mental health struggles that affect many young people today. He speaks openly about the importance of emotional well-being, the value of seeking help, and the Church's role in supporting those who are hurting. He encourages communities to create safe spaces where youth can share their burdens without fear of stigma or rejection. Tagle's compassion and openness have helped to break down taboos and foster a culture of care and solidarity. Tagle's use of technology and social media further demonstrates his commitment to reaching the youth. He understands that the digital world is where many young people live, learn, and form relationships. Rather than seeing technology as a threat, Tagle embraces it as a tool for evangelization and connection. His online presence is marked by positivity, encouragement, and a willingness to engage with difficult questions. He models how the Church can be present in the digital age, offering light truth and companionship in a sometimes confusing and overwhelming world. Crucially, Tagle does not see young people merely as the future of the Church, but as its present. He advocates for their inclusion in decision-making, leadership, and ministry at every level. He believes that the Church is enriched by the energy, creativity, and idealism of youth, and he works to create structures where their voices are heard and valued. Tagle's vision is of a Church that is intergenerational, where wisdom is shared and new ideas are welcomed. In summary, Cardinal Tagle's ministry to young people is a powerful sign of hope for the Church. His ability to inspire, empower, and accompany the youth makes him a shepherd for the future, a leader who understands the challenges of modern life and responds with compassion, courage, and faith. Under his guidance, the Church can continue to grow as a home for all generations, united in love and committed to building a better world. Part 9. Faithfulness to the Gospel. Courage for Reform. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's journey as a Church leader is marked by a rare blend of deep fidelity to the Gospel and a courageous openness to reform. In a time when the Catholic Church faces both internal and external challenges, ranging from scandals and declining trust to the rapidly changing realities of modern society, Tagle's approach offers a vital path forward. He embodies the conviction that true reform is not about abandoning tradition, but about rediscovering the heart of the Gospel and allowing it to renew every aspect of Church life. Tagle's faithfulness is rooted in his profound love for Jesus Christ. And the Scriptures, he consistently points to the example of Christ as the standard for all Christian living and leadership. For Tagle, the Gospel is not a set of abstract doctrines or rules, but a living encounter with God's mercy, love, and call to conversion. He urges the Church to return to the simplicity and radical compassion of the early Christian community, where faith was expressed in service, humility, and solidarity with the poor. This fidelity to the Gospel does not make Tagle resistant to change. On the contrary, it is precisely his rootedness in Christ that gives him the courage to face difficult questions and to advocate for necessary reforms. Tagle understands that the Church as a living body must always be open to the promptings of the Holy Spirit, who makes all things new. He often recalls the words of Pope Francis, who has said that the Church is not a museum of saints, but a field hospital for sinners. For Tagle, reform is not about superficial adaptation, but about deep renewal, about removing obstacles that prevent people from encountering the love of God. Tagle's commitment to reform is evident in his leadership style. He practices synodality, a way of governing that emphasizes listening dialogue and shared discernment. Tagle believes that the Holy Spirit speaks through the whole people of God, not just through the hierarchy. He encourages bishops, priests, religious, and lay people to participate actively in the life and mission of the Church. This collaborative approach is especially important in addressing the complex issues facing the Church today, from clericalism and abuse scandals to questions about the role of women and the inclusion of marginalized groups. One of Tagle's most significant contributions to reform is his advocacy for greater transparency and accountability. He has spoken openly about the need for the Church to acknowledge its failures, to seek forgiveness, and to implement concrete measures to protect the vulnerable. Tagle understands that credibility is earned through humility and honesty, not through denial or defensiveness. He calls for a culture of responsibility where leaders are held to the highest standards of integrity and where the voices of victims are heard and respected. Tagle is also a champion of pastoral reform. He urges the Church to move beyond a legalistic or judgmental approach and to embrace a more compassionate, individualized care for people in difficult situations. Whether addressing the needs of divorced and remarried Catholics, LGBTQ+ persons, or those struggling with faith. Tagle insists that the Church must always lead with mercy and understanding. He warns against the temptation to reduce the faith to a checklist of rules, reminding the faithful that the law was made for man, not man for the law. His courage for reform is balanced by a deep respect for tradition. Tagle does not seek change for its own sake, nor does he reject the wisdom of the past. Instead, he approaches reform as a process of discernment, guided by prayer, dialogue, and the teachings of the Church. He recognizes that some changes take time and require patience, but he is not afraid to ask difficult questions or to challenge practices that no longer serve the gospel. Tagle's vision for reform is also global. He understands that the challenges facing the Church vary from one region to another, and he respects the diversity of cultures and experiences within the universal Church. He advocates for a decentralized approach where local churches are empowered to respond to their unique contexts while remaining united in faith and mission. This flexibility is essential for a Church that seeks to be truly Catholic, embracing all people everywhere. In his preaching and teaching, Tagle often returns to the example of the saints, men and women, who were both faithful to tradition and bold in responding to the needs of their times. He encourages Catholics to cultivate a spirit of discernment, to be attentive to the signs of the times, and to trust that God is always at work, even in moments of crisis or uncertainty. In summary, Cardinal Tagle's faithfulness to the gospel and his courage for reform make him an ideal leader for the Church today. He shows that it is possible to honor tradition while embracing change, to be rooted in Christ, while reaching out to the world, and to lead with both conviction and compassion. Under his guidance, the Church can continue the journey of renewal begun by Pope Francis, becoming ever more a community of mercy, justice, and hope for all. Part 10. A Pope for the Whole World. The Hope of Tagle. As the Catholic Church stands at a pivotal crossroads, the question of its next leader carries immense significance, not only for Catholics, but for all who look to the Church as a beacon of hope, justice, and compassion. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle emerges as a figure uniquely prepared to meet the needs of this moment. A shepherd, whose heart, mind, and vision resonate with the deepest aspirations of the global church and the world it serves. Tagle's journey from the vibrant streets of Manila to the halls of the Vatican is a testament to the universality of the Church. He embodies the reality that Catholicism is not confined to any one culture or continent, but is a living, breathing communion of peoples from every nation. His Filipino heritage, shaped by a history of faith amidst adversity, brings a fresh perspective to the papacy, one that is attuned to the joys and sorrows of the developing world, and that understands the struggles of those often overlooked by centers of power. Throughout his ministry, Tagle has shown that he is a pope for the whole world. He speaks the language of the poor and the powerful, of the young and the old, of those inside and outside the Church. His ability to listen deeply, to empathize, and to build bridges across divides has earned him respect and affection in every corner of the globe. Tagle's leadership is not about imposing uniformity, but about fostering unity in diversity, celebrating the unique gifts of each culture while drawing all people together in the love of Christ. Tagle's vision for the Church is one of hope, a hope grounded not in optimism or wishful thinking, but in the resurrection of Jesus and the enduring presence of the Holy Spirit. He believes that the Church, even in times of crisis, is called to be a sign of God's faithfulness and a source of healing for a wounded world. Tagle's hope is not passive. It is active, expressed in concrete acts of service, advocacy for justice, and tireless efforts to accompany those who suffer. As a leader, Tagle is marked by a profound humility that makes him accessible to all. He does not seek the trappings of power or prestige, but chooses instead the path of service and simplicity. His laughter, his tears, and his unwavering faith reveal a man who is deeply human and deeply holy. Tagle's style of leadership is collaborative and inclusive, inviting the participation of all the faithful laity, clergy, women, youth, and those on the margins in the life and mission of the Church. Tagle's potential papacy would not be a break from the legacy of Pope Francis, but its natural continuation and deepening. He shares Francis's passion for mercy, his commitment to the poor, his courage in pursuing reform, and his openness to dialogue with the modern world. Tagle's global perspective, theological depth, and pastoral warmth would ensure that the Church remains a credible witness to the gospel in every land and culture. In a time marked by division, uncertainty, and rapid change, the world longs for leaders who can inspire trust, foster reconciliation, and offer a vision of hope that transcends boundaries. Tagle's capacity to unite people of different backgrounds, to speak with authenticity to the challenges of our age, and to embody the compassion of Christ makes him the Pope the world needs now. As the Church looks to the future, the hope of Tagle is the hope of a Church that is truly Catholic, universal, inclusive, and alive with the Spirit. It is the hope of a faith that listens before it speaks, that serves before it commands, and that loves without condition. It is the hope of a world where every person is seen, valued, and welcomed as a child of God. In Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, the Church finds not just a leader, but a servant, a man ready to guide the people of God into a new era of grace, healing, and mission. His life is a living invitation to all to believe in the power of love, to work for justice, and to trust that with God, a new and brighter future is always possible. As we reflect on the remarkable journey and qualities of Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, it becomes clear that he embodies the hope, humility, and vision needed for the next chapter of the Catholic Church. Tagle's deep faith, compassion for the poor, intellectual depth, and ability to unite people across cultures and generations make him an inspiring model of servant leadership in our time. His life and ministry remind us that the Church's true strength lies not in power or prestige, but in loving service, courageous reform, and a heart open to all. Now more than ever, the world is searching for leaders who can heal, listen, and guide with wisdom and mercy. In Cardinal Tagle, we see the promise of a church that is truly for everyone. A church that goes out to the margins, builds bridges, and offers hope in a divided world. If you believe in a future where the church is more compassionate, inclusive, and faithful to the gospel, let your voice be heard. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories and deep insights about faith leadership and the future of the church. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Cardinal Tagle is the leader the church and the world need right now? Join the conversation. Your voice matters.